everyone, my name is Anastasia, Mr. Nice Guy on social media, and welcome to my YouTube channel where we are talking about fashion, the history, the industry, trends and more. I'm happy to have you here. So today we will talk about what is the Fashion Week, and we will start with the definition. So Fashion Week is a major fashion event which consists of a smaller fashion event such as runway shows, presentations, brand cocktails, brunches, parties, after parties, etc. There are four most important fashion weeks, or the big four, which are New York, London, Milan and Paris, and together they make a fashion month. There is also a particular hierarchy within these big four, like the Paris Fashion Week is the most important one and it is also the most conservative one. And the New York Fashion Week is kind of the easiest to get to, but on the other hand it is always the most representative one, sometimes the funniest one, and it usually showcases more young brands and designers. There are two main types of Fashion Week. A ready-to-wear fashion week, which is held 2 times per year in a variety of cities, and a couture fashion week, which is also held 2 times per year, but only in Paris. Plus, there are such things as resort, menswear and bridal fashion weeks, but they are more like just shows than a fashion week because they are not managed by one organization and they are only basically united by the time frame. Let's move to the history part. So the very concept of a runway show goes back to the 18th century Paris, and first the women were hired to wear couture pieces to the public places like saloons and racetracks, theaters, all that stuff. But after a while they became events of their own, which were called fashion parades. So in the beginning of the 20th century, lots of American retailers adopted the idea, and mainly big department stores started to hold the shows of their own. The first ones were Enright Brothers, which were an NYC shop, in 1903. In the 1920s, they were extremely popular amongst middle-class women. Or might be because of the comments that supported the show that made them a little bit like a talk shows, or the shows being overall quite theatrical. During the Second World War, America was left without its major source of fashion inspiration and ideas, Paris, which was occupied by the Nazi army. So in 1943, the American fashion publicist Eleanor Lambert, who is usually also referred to as the mother of American Fashion Week, had an idea to unite all these separate shows within one place and one time frame, so to give buyers and journalists an alternative to the French fashion, as well as to boost the popularity of American fashion amongst Americans. It was called Press Week or Fashion Press Week and is considered to be the first ever fashion week. Funny enough, the official name was changed to the New York Fashion Week only in 1990s, while the London Fashion Week was going strong with this very name, Fashion Week I mean, since the 1984. Well, Milan Fashion Week was founded in 1958 and was running under the name Settimana della Moda. Paris' first ever couture fashion week was held right after the World War II in 1945, but the first ready-to-wear fashion show, or Semaine de la Mode, I guess, was first held in 1973. Next thing we're going to talk about is the management. How are these fashion weeks run? Who manages them? Who organizes them? Who is behind all of this? There is no international organization, and all the fashion weeks are organized by particular organizations within the countries. So New York Fashion Week is organized by VME/IMG, or to be more particular, Endeavour, which is a holding company which operates in areas of fashion, sport and entertainment, and CFDA, which is a council of fashion designers in America. In London, it is British Fashion Council, Milan, Chamber for Italian Fashion, in Paris, French Fashion Federation for Ready-to-Wear Fashion Week, and Chambre Syndicate de la Haute Couture for the Couture Fashion Week. And yet there is quite a number of designers and brands in each and every city which choose to showcase their collections independently, so to say, not as a part of the Fashion Week. And now we're moving to the functionality. First and foremost, of course, to showcase new collections, but who are actually brands inviting to the shows and who are they showing these collections to? Well, basically, Fashion Week is a time of the year where all the fashion community, and by this I mean buyers, journalists, CEOs of the fashion corporations, stylists, photographers, fashion influencers, models, you name it, comes to the very same city. And you know what they do? They talk. They make work contacts. It's basically like the huge professional conference for the people who work in fashion, which is held twice per year. And I think it's just like the biggest example of networking that the world knows today. And the last point we will consider today is the impact. Well, a fashion show is never really about the clothing pieces only. The way the garments are styled and showcased is important. The way the makeup and hair of the models are done is important. The models who are selected to walk the show, the inclusivity of these models, the venue, how it's decorated, what the lighting, is it dark, is it light, is it a runway or do the models walk on the same level as the guest seat? Where the guests are situated, how are they located within this venue? What the music, who sits in the first row? All these little things make a lot of difference, and at the whole they are very important because all of them impact the brand image of the fashion house or designer. Living in the social media era, brand image can be easily affected negatively or positively much faster and much deeper than in any other time period before. So basically, there is this pie of society attention, and each and every brand tries to take as much of a bite of this pie as they can. Hence why all this storytelling, hence why these crazy decorations. Nowadays, just showing a nice clothing line without any narrative or an idea behind it is just not enough. It's not enough to draw people's attention. You may ask me, why the fashion brands do even need this attention, the attention of this many people, when even half of them won't be able to buy their goods and the things that they produce because of the prices, of course. The answer is very easy, and that is to create the desirability. The more desirable the brand is, the more they can charge for their products to be sold to those who can buy them, and the more their income is, which is kind of the goal and the purpose of each and every business. And fashion is a huge business. Well, that's gonna be it for today, guys. I hope you understand a little bit more about the Fashion Week now. Please consider subscribing to this channel, give me a like if you love this video. Also check out my other social medias. I am on the Instagram and on the TikTok as well if you're interested in seeing more content from me. And other than that, I'll see you next week. Nice day, everybody.